Pedro.
Hello.
Good evening.
Oh, someone has a curtain. Here we go.
Go figure. When I finally get a set of curtains, I don't have to worry about the light anymore.
Now you need one of those ring lights in the front of you so we can really light up your face.
I actually have a monitor that's next to me, and I keep a blank page open to try to help, but it doesn't.
It's one of those lights for seasonal effectiveness disorder. Oh, there you go. That looks better. Let me see if Tracy's cat walks by tonight.
Well, they're sleeping right now, but probably.
All right, group, we're going to pause for about another 5 more minutes, and I'll let you know when we come back online. All right, everybody, sound check, everybody good? You can all hear?
All here.
Very good. Well, welcome everybody to this Board of Commissioners meeting, the regular meeting. Sorry for the little delay, but we'll start now. And what I'd like to do is call this meeting to order. And first, I'd like to have the town clerk make her regular announcements. So Town Clerk Schuler, you're up.
Good evening. I just wanted to go over a couple logistics. For those participants who may not be very familiar with Zoom, please make sure to keep your camera on while the meeting is in progress, if possible, and to mute yourselves when you're not talking. For board members, the mayor will be calling on each of you individually to provide comments and votes. When voting, please remember to identify yourselves by stating your name and your vote. If you would like to speak at any point during the meeting, please raise your hand and be mindful of your background. If we are in the middle of a presentation and you're raising your hand but not being called on, please feel free to speak up. Additionally, we want to make sure that board members are able to participate in this meeting fully. So if you experience any technical difficulties, please text me. Next, we need to take the roll call. Please indicate if you are present. Mayor Ronald Pappas,
Present?
Mayor Pro Tem Brenda McMillan,
Present.
Commissioner Jason Hall,
Present.
Commissioner Ann Simpson,
Present.
Commissioner Tracy Westlick,
Present.
and Commissioner Pedro Marie.
Present.
Thank you. All members are present. Mayor, I'll turn the meeting back over to you.
Good. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you being here tonight. At this time, I'd like to do the opening. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please pause for a moment of silence thereafter. Okay, I'll start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Very good. Thank you, everyone. At this time, we have the adoption of the agenda tonight. So if there are any changes to the agenda, please note. If not, may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Very good. We have a motion to adopt the agenda tonight. All right, roll call vote, please. Any discussion on that? Roll call, then Commissioner Westlick,
Aye.
Commissioner Morey,
Mr. Mayor, are we is that for the entire agenda or just does this have to do with the consent agenda? There's an item I'd like to revisit.
you're adopting the entire agenda.
Okay, I have an issue with an item on the consent agenda. I'd like to have that removed and put into the regular.
Charlie, since we started this process, protocol, please.
This would be the time to move something on the agenda from one place to another.
We had a motion on the floor and started the vote process on it, the roll call vote process on it to approve it.
Well, that would be a motion to amend that motion technically. It's the motion of personal privilege.
Okay, Commissioner Morey, that would be up to you.
And so I make a motion to move the approval of resolution 2021001 in support of even year elections and put it into, I guess would be done into new business.
Okay, very good. So we have a motion to start with to approve it and then a motion to amend it. So I guess let's go with the roll call vote to amend the motion. Correct, Charlie?
That's correct, Mayor.
Good. Okay, so we'll go back up to roll call vote. Commissioner Westlick,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Simpson,
And please remember to state your name along with your vote.
Commissioner Simpson, aye.
Commissioner Westlake,
Tracy Westlake, aye.
Mayor Pro Tem McMillan.
Brenda McMillan, aye.
Very good. Okay, so the motion passed. We're going to move the item on the resolution on 2021001 down to new business. So we'll pick that up as item number 3 on that. Very good. So with that, we'll move down to, there's no public comments, as I understand that correctly, Town Clerk
Mayor, you
Sheehan?
need to vote, complete the vote on the adoption of the agenda as amended.
Okay, so roll call vote again to have the agenda as amended voted on. All right, so this time we will go ahead and remember to say your names, but I'll start off again with Commissioner Simpson,
Commissioner Simpson, aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Commissioner Jason Hall, aye.
Commissioner Westlake,
Tracy Westlake, aye.
Commissioner Morey,
Pedro Mori, aye.
and Mayor Pro Tem McMillan.
Brenda McMillan, aye.
Very good. All right, I think we covered all that loop. Does that work for you, Charlie? I think so.
Yes, sir. I think we made it.
Very good. Thank you very much for that. All right, so as I understand, we'll move down to item B on this. And so item B, there are no public comments. Am I correct in that, Melody?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Now we will drop down to the consent agenda, and I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended on this. So back to a roll call vote on that. And
So moved.
Very good. Roll call, Commissioner Simpson,
Commissioner Simpson, aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Commissioner Hall, yes, aye.
Commissioner Westlake,
Commissioner Westlake, aye.
Commissioner Morey,
Pedro Mori, aye.
Mayor Pro Tem McMillan.
Brenda McMillan, aye.
Very good. Thank you, everyone. So we'll move that one item down to, again, new business. And so we'll have the new business right now is item number D, number 1. So this one goes to Dina Savinsky. Are you on with us already, Dina? There you go. Very good. Welcome, Dina.
Hello, all.
This is on the Downtown Central Park Master Plan, correct?
Yes, sir. I also have Mr. John Wood from Benished with me tonight. So we're going to be
Very good.
taking our presentation. So if y'all have any questions during the presentation, though, please get our attention so we can help address those, okay?
Very good.
Awesome.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
All right, here we go. So we're going to be talking about tonight our downtown master plan for the Massey Horton property. Let me find my cursor. There we go. So just a little bit of history about the property. So I actually found out some more because I know that was some of the questions we had in our 2x2. The Massey property, the Massey family owned the land in the 1900s up to it came into trust in 2003. And then it was sold to Miss Tracy Ann Horton. She had it in her possession, the Horton family, for about 9 years. And then it was sold to the town in September of 2012. And that's a strategic planning on the town's part for our downtown park. But some history about the Massey family is they actually used their animal pasture that lovingly got called Massey's Meadow as the first listen and remember. So that's pretty significant when it comes to recreation. So we wanted to highlight that for y'all to to know a little bit of that history. And I'm constantly learning more history about the area through our historical committee. They've been awesome on getting that information to us. So I just want to do a shout out to them as well for being great partners in understanding that history. Next one, just to highlight all the wonderful building blocks that got us to this point. So in 2012, we had a vision plan that highlighted the downtown civic space that basically highlighted the Massey Horton property and showed that this would be a great community space, a civic space for our citizens. Then they went into the master plan for the whole park system. That basically gave you a roadmap to start the department, to get a director, to understand where all your recreational kind of needs are. That moved us on to actually doing a master plan for that downtown park. It had great bones, but knowing that with our climate of needed to have more updated information about what could go there and what our citizens are requesting for now, we knew that they needed to be updated. So our ULI folks came about 2 years ago too, and they basically reiterated that we needed that civic space and that that would be a great addition to our downtown and just to the town itself. 19, we finished up our strategic master plan for the whole park that basically gave us all our needs assessment, awesome survey feedback from the town citizens, and basically reiterated the need for that downtown park. And that's kind of one of our top priorities that was on the list. So that leads us to feedback of recently what we discovered this past fall. And John is going to help explain some of that feedback and how that came to be. And that we also had BOC feedback as well as our committees. And then a lot of the citizen feedback was very beneficial, but got us up to this point where we've been on the right track. And it's time for us to fulfill on that promise. So, John?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm glad to be back in front of you again. We first got together back in October, November timeframe. So here we are already the end of January and have accomplished quite a bit over the last few months. So as Dina mentioned, and I think many of you probably partook, we had an online survey that we posted for a few weeks in November as part of our input gathering process. And there were about 18 questions on that survey to gather information about where people were doing their recreation right now, how aware they were of the downtown community park, what they wanted to see in this park, whether they were residents of Waxhaw or not, some demographic information. But I think the main thing that came out of this when we looked at priorities, and I know everybody struggled to try to pick one or two priorities to put in this park, it still showed that we had the same interests that came about in the previous master plan process, with certainly walking paths coming out in the top. So with walking paths and playgrounds and shelters, I mean, everything that's listed here on this slide became the basis of when we started to form our two concepts that we presented at the open house right before Thanksgiving. And Dina, if you want to go to the next one, then.
I can.
And then, knowing that there was also a focus that came out of the first master plan, as well as the system-wide plan of finding a place for art, cultural opportunities, we asked a question related around that. So I think that the biggest, obviously moving the festivals, we have a lot of people that live in town that attend festivals. You have a lot of folks that come from out of town to attend your festivals. And it's a big interest in finding a place for that, moving it off the street a bit, Same thing with family-oriented events, which Dean has done a great job of continuing to try to do the drive-in movies and some of the other things related to having to shift things around. So, folding that into a park plan so that we not only are providing for these events and these festivals, we're also providing an everyday park.
Ready?
So, yes, I am. So I think everybody is familiar with this is the culmination of two. We had two alternates that we presented back in November. Many of them, both of them had a lot of the same components in them. It was just sort of how they were arranged. And we went through all the responses, all the feedback we got, not only through the survey, but through the questionnaires that we had in the open house that the board filled out, that the park advisory board filled out, some of the town staff as well. And pulling all that together along with the images on the right that reflect the preferred images that we had on those three sheets, if you remember back. They were very close. We ended up with some ties, so there's more than three on some of the sheets that we showed, but it starts to describe the character that everybody wanted to see within the park of, I guess, earthy type shelter structures, just something as simple as a bench swing along a path, paved pathways that are wide enough so that folks can run, jog, push strollers, ride bikes. Sustainable design in terms of how we treat the stormwater that comes through, not only as a function, but as an educational element. A nice, amphitheater, but still make it very earthy. Some type of a water feature, but not a splash pad or a spray ground, but still introduces that sound and that element. Introducing, rock climbing elements into more of a natural element type playground, using topo for slides. Perhaps we have a nice iconic play structure in there. So this was all woven in here to get to this master plan. And then the next series of slides breaks it down into bigger pictures on smaller areas so that we can go through and talk to them in a little more detail.
And John, we also wanted to mention what we heard from the feedback from this plan from the BOC and the Park and Rec Committee. So with looking at the site and getting that feedback after this plan was available, we also had feedback about integrating a dog park as well as pickleball within the sports court, adequately making sure that we have enough room for the disc golf and looking at those safety measures for that. With the PCR, they looked at having a flagpole that we didn't have in the initial, so that's very important to have that inside the plan, and also extending the sidewalk along the left side of the parking lot to make a bigger loop. That was also introduced as well. So, and making sure that we encompass in the final plan and the whole update that introducing into Barnes Park and definitely the community corner and how that ties in. But we are so focused right now to get the Massey Horton property kind of ready so we can hit go. So that's the reason why we're focused on that. But we just wanted to make sure that all we did here and trying to figure out how we can incorporate those unique amenities as well.
Thank you, Dina. Good point at this point as we move into and I can interject some of that as we talk about these enlarged areas. So if we want to move into the first one. So I think this is easily the one of the first area many folks will see as they come into the park. It's your festival, your event area, flexing a large multi-purpose pavilion at the front, with some formal lawn areas behind it and about a 30-foot wide promenade that becomes the central spine that we can locate tents on for farmers market or festivals. During the rest of the time, it's a widened pedestrian way. We have talked about some potential shelters along there if budget allows. So we'll be still looking at that. You'll notice that we have we've shown a couple of retaining walls in this now that we're at the larger scale, because we do have to bench in this site. This corner is currently the one that's the most open on the property. So it's somewhat flat up there. Once you get off this site, then we start dropping, going to the east and dropping to the south in our topography. So we are showing a retaining wall along the left side, and our hope is that when we get the property surveyed and start to physically grade this property, we can put a walk in between that wall and the parking lot, so that if you were to do a walking loop, right now the walking loop would go around the perimeter and then kind of come up through the promenade. So you would have an option here. It doesn't add much to your linear footage when you're walking, but it's another option to come up and not have to go all the way through the park if you don't feel like you want to. Up at the entrance on Gibbons, we are proposing on-street parking up there. At the same time, tearing up that part, widening it a little bit. We'll fix the drainage that's coming under from David Barnes, so increase the pipe size. And then we show that about an 8-foot walk heading north, heading up into David Barnes that takes you up into downtown that way. And then when we get to the next side, you'll see the other piece as it comes around Church. We'll go back there just a second, Dina.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. So if we're looking at incorporating a flagpole, we're probably putting the flagpole somewhere up on the Gibbons Street end, incorporating it in the paved area there, because we do have down at the bottom part, we're proposing some artwork or some type of an art piece at that circular end to it. We had some folks that definitely wanted to see some kind of a flexible sport court. So that's what's shown with item 21, that it's and the intent there is we have a flexible court service, not meant to be for any kind of an organized game of any type, but can be used for just small groups want to kick a little soccer ball around, throw a little basketball around, but not have a high perimeter fence. So maybe 3 feet for something to keep a ball from kicking out. And then certainly we have the parking along there. We're showing a little over 100 spaces. That'll flex as we start to get into more detailed design. Obviously, we can't park everybody for an event. So the parking is set up for a lot of everyday use. And when you're having events, you're still back to probably some shuttles and bringing people in. So if we move into the next area, then to the east, the other side of the promenade.
John?
Yes, ma'am.
This is Commissioner Simpson. I just have a question. And on the event lawn, it says it's 115 feet by 160 feet. Can you give me like a perspective of that? I mean, is that like a football field size, a half a football field, a tennis court size, just to kind of give me an idea of what that would encompass?
Your football field is going to be at least 300 feet long. So you're a third of that in length. And then tennis courts are 60 by 120. So if you were to put 2 tennis courts together, you're 120 by 120. So if that helps.
It does. Thank you.
Okay. So as we move then to the other side of the promenade, where we are now, we have our stream bed that's draining downtown that we're trying to stay out of. So we're trying to developing everything then between our promenade and that stream that runs down the eastern boundary. We have it's where we start to get into some of our fun stuff with nature and playground. So we're looking at a large nature themed playground, interpretive play in there. All of these the intent would all these would be inclusive, so that we're trying to bring in all realms of disability, everything physically, mentally, emotionally, all the different types that most people don't think of. Everybody plans for a wheelchair, but they don't think about, children or even young adults that are on the spectrum and need maybe a little bit more social distancing than we're doing now. So that's, the intent is to fold all that in with the stormwater amenities so that as we're, pardon my clock here to the left, at least it's not midnight. So our intent then is to bring our trails through there, work our stormwater amenity in there so that it's functional. We're bringing it through the park, so we'll have some educational components to that. We're even thinking taking one of the trails across in one area with stepping stones, depending upon how much water we have flowing through at any one time. We've been introducing another small shelter. So we're showing about a 15 by 18 small shelter down there on the lower left that would be rentable. And then up in the pavilion right now, it's purely an open air pavilion. So we're introducing then our main restroom facility here off the promenade. And looking at it as a pass-through type structure with restrooms on either side and perhaps a little bit of storage in there as well. And then the other item down at the bottom, number 20, is an outdoor fitness cluster that we are showing. So, outdoor exercise equipment, but done in a cluster instead of, and we'll have an option too to locate some of that along the perimeter trail if we wish to do that.
Sorry.
That's okay. Keeps me moving.
That's
So,
all right.
as we move down to the south now, our sort of centerpiece here is that, I don't want to call it a cul-de-sac, but it's your big center point, some type of a piece of public art in the center of that. And then around that, some decorative art, decorative pavers. And this could be a place, the Parks Advisory Board asked about fundraising with some of the imprinted pavers that I'm sure you've seen around in other parks and downtowns. This might be a good place to incorporate that and put that in. We have another set of restrooms. These are the family restrooms that service this end. So these would be multi-gender or family, or if you had intergenerational where you need to have, parents and grandparents had to be in together. So this offers that flex space there where somebody that might need assistance would go in there. We have our second stormwater picking up, in that area of the site. We have another draw that picks up right around there. So starting another stormwater amenity, and that will actually expand. It's just graphically shown fairly small at this point, but that will expand towards the southeast as we divide forward. And then number 10 over there on the left is one of 5 picnic pods. So these are just small areas off the trails that would have table, grill, trash can, not necessarily any cover on it. And we have 5 of these located around the trail system. And then over to the right is our amphitheater, still on the same slide. But it shows up on this one too. So
It does. Yeah, it does.
So, small amphitheater, I think based on what we're showing in the size wise right now, we're estimating 500 to 700 people would fit into that space. It depends where we are. 700 is probably a pre-COVID
Yes.
spacing. So, we're probably dialing back from that a little bit. Obviously not meant to be large performances. And then we'll see in another slide, this gets serviced off of the public services space here as far as staging and maintenance and bringing vehicles in from that end so that we're not bringing things through the park to get there. The little rope bridge that we show is kind of a fun piece we thought would be in there and part of the natural element. So we have more of a earthen path that would connect through there. This is part of right now where we've designated as a potential disc golf area, so it could become part of that disc golf course, separate from the trail system. And then I think our last one, going back over to the Lynn Street side, that shows that the southern point as our loop trail comes around. You can see some more picnic pods there, and then that right now shows the area that we've designated, haven't laid it out, but have designated for potential disc golf, probably around 9 holes, not a full 8-hole golf course or 18-hole. It'd be more for somebody to learn on. So making sure that we're properly buffered from the trail. Probably could even be just simple par threes so that we're not flinging the discs. Still to be worked out a little bit. And then our path is geared to be about a 10-foot wide paved walking path throughout the park. And right now, the main loop is about 4/10 of a mile, so about 2.5 times around is your measured mile. And then it comes out. You have access from Lynn Street as your pedestrian access, which would also be your emergency access coming in that paper right away there to bring in paramedics, or if we had to bring in a vehicle from that end. We would be gated, but wide enough with bollards, we can bring it in off that end. So I think we go to the slide everybody wants to always know about. How much does it cost? So we have done our best guess here at a master plan level, and at the direction of the town and where the town would like to go, we've divided this into 2 phases. So phase 1 is pretty much the infrastructure phase. So it's getting in there, doing what clearing we need to do, doing our grading, our erosion control, reworking Given Street, putting in our parking, those connections, sidewalk along Givens up to Church. So those elements, something that we can start construction on sooner. And then phase 2, which is the amenity phase, which is the phase being targeted to go after the North Carolina Park and Recreation Trust Fund. It'll all be designed at the same time, but that would be a separate bid or later on added as a change order. We'd have to see how this works. But the focus was to have all the recreational amenities in that phase, so that for the PARTEF grant application, we're really focusing on recreation amenities. So that's the structures and then all the things we've talked about with trails, playgrounds, and all of those elements. And so as I understand it, and Jeff may pop in here, phase 1 is pretty much will be already funded with what you have in the coffers. And phase 2 will be a combination of some funding along with, we'll keep our fingers crossed that we have a successful award on a PARTEF grant come September.
Yes, John, so just to follow up on what you've talked about so far, the phase 1, the town would be able to pay for in cash, and that will allow us to do as we want to do, and that's move forward with that portion of it as quickly as possible, but not compromising the opportunity to receive grant money through PARTEF. PARTEF does not, I guess they don't consider infrastructure and things like that to be eligible amenities. So you can move forward with the project and not compromise your PARTEF funding if you split it up in this kind of fashion. And so I think that's the best move for us to keep this project progressing forward. And as the board will see coming up later this week at the retreat, we'll have the ability to pay for phase 1 in cash, and certainly have very good, robust financing options for phase 2 to be packaged in with some other things that we're going to talk about doing as well.
That's correct. While PARTEF understands that, you have infrastructure that's expected, so they do fund restrooms and they fund parking, and they prefer to put their funding towards recreation. So if we can show that we're doing that, that's a little more that's a little more in our favor then as we submit that application.
It is.
So are you doing this or am I doing this?
I could do this one. So
Okay.
the PARTEF grant is something that we would come back to you in about 2 weeks to ask for permission to move forward. So it's kind of like a proclamation to be able to move forward, understanding that it would be a match. We would ask for the full amount, and that's $500,000 for the park amenities. And so it's a great opportunity to give this, to give towards a way to fund the amenities for us. And then, so the application would be due in early May. So we would have to, get started on it as soon as possible. And so we're really excited about that opportunity. Waxhaw hasn't received a part of grant before. So I think we would, with our application and all the things that we're asking for, we have a really good application. So this is the timeline that we'd like to be on. So start with part of, get the okay to start that application, get the okay to start with the construction documents and design documents for us to go ready out to bid this summer, and then go through that process, the bidding process. So April, May, design development, June, the bidding process, permitting in July and August, and then start construction as soon as possible. We were hoping for September, but having that October date. So this would be the kind of the timeline that we would like to be on with your consideration. And so it comes down to the question. Staff and the PCR voted in their last meeting last week to a motion to approve our downtown Central Park Master Massey Horton property concept plan, including phase 1 and phase 2 for development for this park space. And that would include all those suggestions that was made in the BOC 2x2 and the Park and Rec Committee meetings. Any questions?
Very good. I see a hand up. I see one up in the upper corner, Commissioner Simpson.
Great. Hey, Dina and John. I think you guys did a fantastic job on this plan, and I'm really excited about it. It looks great. I want to see, Dina, I know you and I spoke earlier, but could you just give us maybe a little bit of information? I know I was contacted by a citizen and about ADA or the type of equipment or things that we may have for people who may be in wheelchairs or maybe may have mental health issues or have sensory deficits or things like that.
Yes, ma'am. So this actually is one of is dear to me on making things accessible for all, and the making sure the equality for all as well, and that is all age groups and abilities. So we are, I'm constantly studying what's the, what the next step is and what is beneficial for our citizens. So I came across in one of my trainings, the 7 principles for inclusive play. And what that tells us is how to bring in all your senses, right? And from physical to our cognitive, dramatic play, music, all these things to encompass a play area, and not just the play area. This goes beyond that small venue. This goes into our activity sports area, the interaction there, making sure that all of our surfaces are ADA compliant, but beyond that, making it the accessibility even to our natural areas, that children or adults in different abilities have similar experiences. So it's crossing those boundaries, just not a physical part, but your whole, it's more holistic of how we're approaching this park. And I'm super excited because this will, one, we are seen as a leader and a trendsetter, and I want to keep that up. I want to make this is a it's for our citizens, and their ability to have their outside home. So I'm really excited about it.
And I can add on to that, Commissioner Simpson, too, that we're also looking at not just kids and young adults who are using these. We're also thinking about kids, teens that are perfectly healthy and have no issues, but may have a parent with a disability. You know, when you look at some of the war veterans who come back and they're missing a limb, or they've had, you know, some type of neurological, you know, we're trying to make sure that, you know, they can also be there with their children. We have intergenerational, so you have, you know, grandparents bringing the children to the playground. We need to make sure they can see everything. They, you know, they can get around easily as well. So there's a lot to encompass, and we oftentimes will bring in a vendor as well to make sure that we're staying on top of the current trends with all of that. So it's quite important. And that's just as important as, I think I even mentioned back maybe in November, we talked about CEPTEB, or what we call crime prevention through environmental design. So as we design this, we're also looking at those safety issues and that perception, and making sure everybody feels safe and secure, that you have good visible lines throughout. And there's a lot that goes in now as we go from the master plan into the detail.
That's just wonderful to hear that it's going to be more inclusive of everybody, whether they have a physical or mental or emotional or anything, that's going to be inclusive and have some sort of, you know, more forward thinking design and elements to it. So that's fantastic, because I know there are citizens out there that are looking for that too.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. And I will weigh in on this. I think you guys have done a fabulous job of really hearing what everyone was saying. I know at one time that was looked at to be a plus $20 million spend, which was highly probably unattainable at the time. I think that you guys have listened to what our needs are. Not only that, but provided the financial consideration to make sure that this could actually happen. So if I remember right, if you can scroll down to the financials again, and get me back to that page.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right,
Wrong way.
yeah, I think your total was 2.6, I think is where you were. And we're going to, if you can blow that up for us and see that a little bit.
Oh, goodness. Matt or Nick, can you help me blow it up?
Slideshow, current slide. From current slide.
Second from the left there you go. There you go. So we're looking, if I see that right, is that 2.628?
That's for phase 2, Mayor. Phase 1 is the 1.697, and then phase 2 is the 2.6, and so the total project would be 4.3 million.
Very good. Just want to understand that as well. So again, you guys have done a great job of listening and designing to a budget instead of maybe sometimes as it was before, where it was designed first and then try to, you know, whittle down hundreds of millions of dollars in costs. So I appreciate that a whole bunch from my side. I think John and his team has done a great job in the design work and considering everything that we have there. So John, thank you very much for those efforts on that stuff. I'm, again, for one, I'd like to see this thing happen, get going. The first phases, if I remember right, and Jeff, you can help me with this. We were trying to get shovel in the ground in the first phase by late summer, if we could, maybe early fall.
That's correct. And so if the board is comfortable approving this this plan tonight, then as Dina mentioned, a couple of follow-ups next month. The first would be adopting a resolution to acknowledge pursuing the Partif grant application. And then the second thing would be going into the contract to do the full construction documents for this park, which would be the first step that we'll need to take to be able to get us to the September and October construction start for the phase 1.
That's just flat out exciting. So hopefully we've answered all the questions. Anybody else on the screen have any questions? Having to flip around here. I can't see all of you. There we go again. So any hands up there? Any questions, comments, suggestions?
Hey, Mayor Pappas, it's Jason. I'd like to just echo some of the sentiments I've heard from Commissioner Simpson and everyone else. I think John and your team, you did an excellent job on this. Everyone who's seen the plans has reacted very positively, and I think it'll have a really nice positive effect on our town as well. Just a quick question as I was looking through everything. Do we have everything we need to basically get started on this? I mean, are there any other kind of easements or anything that we're not thinking of that might be missing?
No, sir. We are ready to start with that phase one. And what we do though is like through that February, March, April, May, you'll see us come back to you and explain what process we're in. And when we start when you're designing the finishes, all these things are come up. So we're ready to go if y'all are ready to give us the go ahead.
Yeah, I can echo that in that, our very first step, day one, is to try to get our surveyor out because we need to make sure we have, we've been using GIS survey for this master plan. So now we'd like to know exactly what's out there, because when you're out there, it doesn't quite relate to what's on the GIS. There was a tree survey that was done for the last master plan. So we actually want to locate those trees so that we can work around them. We also want to make sure that some of the trees that were identified 4 or 5 years ago, some of those have since passed on, so they need to be removed. And we may have a few that have grown a little bit that we want to add. We're also going to have we would have some geotech folks to come out and see what's under the subsurface, particularly where we're putting our paved and our structures. We want to know if we don't have any, make sure we don't have any big pockets of hidden rock deep down in there. As far as easements, I'm not aware of anything else that we need at that point. We'll certainly work closely with Max and engineering on Gibbon Street.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, board. I think it's time Miss Dina is looking for our support on this stuff and support of all of her staff and the town staff that has worked on this stuff. So I'm going to ask one of you to propose the motion.
This is Commissioner Ann Simpson. I am excited and happy to make a motion to adopt the proposed concept plan for the Massey Horton property in the downtown Central Park master plan.
Very good. We have a motion up. Any further discussion? Very good. Seeing none, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote. So here we roll. I'm going to ask for Commissioner Westlake.
Tracy Westlake, aye.
Commissioner Morey.
Pedro Morey, aye. And I can't wait for opening day.
That's awesome. Commissioner Hall.
Jason Hall, aye.
Commissioner Simpson.
Commissioner Simpson, aye.
Mayor Pro Tem McMillan.
Brenda McMillan, aye.
Wow, got them all. Dina, home run. Thank you very much for this.
Yay.
To get going.
Thank you. And again, the whole team is ready and we're super excited. So to get this.
Thank you all. I look forward to doing this again this time in February, only we talk about Community Corner and David Barnes.
John, very good. We thank you for all of you and your team's efforts on this stuff and walking us through this. It is real exciting to see this move forward. So thank you everyone on this. Okay, we're going to move to new business item number 2, approval of resolution 2021002. And I'm going to let the town manager take this one. Jeff, you've got the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. To facilitate the sale of town-owned property, the town is utilizing the negotiated offer, advertisement, and upset bid procedure as described in the North Carolina statutes. The town has received an offer to purchase property the town owns along Old Waxhaw Monroe Road, identified as parcel number 05087070 in the amount of $85,000. The town has received the required 5% deposit of the purchase price from the buyer, and in order to move forward, the board must authorize the advertisement of the purchase and allow the bid to be upset. The notice is scheduled for circulation on January 28th, and if no additional bid is received, then the board may authorize sale of the property at its next scheduled meeting. If the bid is upset, then we start the process over again, and the board may also at any time reject any and all offers. The recommended motion is to adopt Resolution 2021-002, declaring surplus property and authorizing the advertisement of an offer to purchase real property owned by the town of Waxhaw. And I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for the town manager on this one? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to look for a motion. If I could have a motion, please.
Commissioner Simpson, I'll make the motion to declare the described property as surplus and authorize the town clerk to publish a notice of the offer to purchase said property and advertise for upset bids in accordance with NCGS 160A-269.
Very good. We have a motion to approve the request, so I'm going to ask for any further discussion. Seeing no hands up, I'm going to again do the roll call vote on this one. So we'll start with Commissioner Hall.
Jason Hall, aye.
Commissioner Westlake.
Tracy Westlake, aye.
Commissioner Morey.
Pedro Mori, aye.
Commissioner Simpson.
Ann Simpson, aye.
Mayor Pro Tem McMillan.
Brenda McMillan, aye.
Very good. Motion passes unanimously. We look forward to that closing, add to the coffers a little bit, and we can further our causes. So congratulations, everybody. 2 down, a couple more to go. So let's keep working on it. All right, next up was a carryover from the earlier discussion on Resolution 2021-001. This is on the resolution in support of the even year elections. You guys received background information in your packet earlier, but I'm going to turn this over to the town manager. Jeff, the floor is again yours.
Thank you, Mayor. So municipal elections are held on odd years. Historically, municipal elections have low voter turnout, and recent statistics in Waxhaw justify that trend. Usually, no other elected offices are cast during odd years. Occasionally, issues such as bond referendums can be placed on an odd year ballot, but not really anything else other than that. General elections are held in even years and historically get a larger voter turnout because of the number of offices that are on the ballot. So because of the low voter turnout for the odd year municipal elections, some municipalities have worked to change their municipal election cycle from odd years to even years to sync up with the general election cycle. So the discussion to move the municipal elections to even years is based on data. The population at the polls, as it shows during the population at the polls during the general elections, as you see here, based on previous elections, we know that we have a greater population turnout in the general election, i.e. the even years. So this shows the data on the left here numerically, and then the data, it's the same data that's shown on the right here graphically. But we took the example from the last 3 general elections, which was the 2020, the 2018, and the 2016 general election. The total number of voters in all Waxhaw precincts was 11,170 voters. And that came out to a percentage of 65% of the estimated population that we know at the time. And then 2018, the total number of voters was 6,100 55 out of the known estimated population at the time of 14,249, or 43%. Then in 2016, it was 6,648 voters out of the 13,035 estimate at the time, which computes out to 51%. So you compare that to the last three municipal elections. The 2019 municipal election, we had a total of 2,068 voters out of the estimated 17,147 in the population, for a percentage turnout of 12%. The 2017 municipal election saw 1,209 voters out of the estimated 13,645 at the time, for a percentage of 9%. And the 2015 municipal election, which had a total of 980 voters out of the estimated population at the time of 12,548, or 8%. And so you also could look at even the primaries, which we did in 2020, 2018, and 2016. And even in the primaries, which are done earlier in the year that everybody's familiar with, most of those had a larger voter turnout as well. The 2020 primary saw 3,155 voters out of the estimated 17,147 population, for a turnout of 18%. The 2018 primary, with the total voters of 975 out of the 14,249, that was 7%. And then the 2016 primary at 2,671 voters out of the 13,035, and that came out to 20%. And then we also looked at the other event that happened in 2016, which was a congressional primary, just because that also happened in 2016. That was a total voter turnout of 514 out of the 13,035, and that was a 4%. But as you can clearly see, I think it shows a little bit better visual there on the right, the significant difference in voter turnout in even year elections as opposed to the odd year cycle. The U.S. President, U.S. Senate, House, North Carolina Senate and House, numerous other federal state offices, the county elected officials, and numerous county offices are also on the even year ballots, things such as examples of register of deeds, the sheriff, the list goes on and on and on. And the only elections that are held in odd years are the municipal elections. So that's the analysis of it, and so that's what the stats show us. And so I'll share my screen again here one more time. With the resolution of the Waxhaw Board of Commissioners in support of even year elections. So we've written that whereas statistics specific to the town of Waxhaw voters clearly shows that voter turnout is extremely limited in odd year or municipal election cycles, whereas the average percentage of Waxhaw voters who voted in 2016, 18, and 20 general elections was 53%. And whereas the average percentage of Waxhaw voters who voted in the 15, 17, and 19 municipal elections was 9.5%. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of the town of Waxhaw recognizes that significantly more citizens vote during the general election cycles. And whereas the Board of Commissioners desires to have more voters participate in the municipal election cycle. Whereas the Board of Commissioners desires to create efficiencies for voters during election cycles by reducing costs and creating a more streamlined election process. And whereas the Board of Commissioners recognizes the advantages of maintaining uniformity in election cycles for municipal elections to be conducted in the even year general election cycle. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the town of Waxhaw that the town hereby requests its local delegation in the North Carolina General Assembly draft and introduce a bill moving the municipal elections for the town of Waxhaw from odd year elections to even year elections, provided that the following provisions are met. No regular election shall be conducted in the town of Waxhaw in 2021. The terms of commissioners elected in 2017 shall be extended to 2022. Elections for the mayor and commissioners shall continue to be held on a nonpartisan basis. The mayor and commissioners shall be elected every 4 years beginning in 2022. The 3 commissioners that were elected in 2017 shall be extended to 2022. The mayor and 2 commissioners that were elected in 2019 shall be extended to 2024. Elections shall be held in even years, consistent with the general election cycle, beginning in 2022 and every 2 years thereafter. And the town charter is revised to reflect the change from an odd year to even year election cycle. So that is the resolution. And one other thing to point out is really that this is the beginning of the process. It's not the end. It's making the request to the General Assembly, and then it has to go through a process there, make its way through the committees, and make its way through the crossover, where then it would ultimately be voted on if it made it through those steps. So this first step is us making the request of the General Assembly to look into this and to potentially make that move to even year cycles. As I mentioned before, there are some other cities and towns that have done this in recent past. A couple of examples of that is the town of Black Mountain, town of Biltmore Forest, city of Asheville has done it too. And then back a bit further, city of Archdale was one of the earlier examples to do that over a decade ago. And they did this same thing in similar fashion and have had success in doing so. And so that's pretty much the stats of it and where we are with it. And I guess the whys of why we would look to do this, being that it is based on getting more voter turnout. So with that, certainly let the mayor come back on, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Very good. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate that information. And I'm going to open it up to questions. I want to start, give courtesy to Commissioner Morey since he brought the motion forward to do this. So Pedro, you had some questions or not? The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me start off by saying that in essence, I don't have an issue with the idea of doing it. I don't have an issue with an idea of trying to garner or try to bring more voters in to our elections. That's something that we all, I think, spoke about during our campaigns. My issue with this particular motion is that, in essence, it gives us all an extra year in office. And my belief is that we were all voted in for 4 years. For us to come out and essentially give ourselves an extra year is something that I'm not set with. That should be something left up to the people. I believe that if we take this on, it should be left up to the people, and that they should, in the next cycle, vote for someone that would have to fall in to that particular line, that particular election cycle. I think in today's political climate, it would be a little bit of a hard sell to the people. That's as best as way as I can put it. The idea is great. Anything that can bring out the voters and get them involved and engaged in what's happening today in our community is great. And that's witnessed by the amount of people that came out for the public input session for our park. The number was 188 out of a town of potentially 17,000 people that could have had an impact there, and only 188 came out. So that is also reflected in our election cycle. So anything to better those numbers, I think, is a great idea. However, I just don't believe that the timing for this is correct, or at least the application at this time.
All right, comments from the others? Everybody's quiet all of a sudden. Cat got you all your tongues?
Well, I'll just give some input on my end. I mean, there's never a good time to make this kind of change. But if there is a good time, it would be this year because I have a feeling with all the COVID restrictions that the voter turnout would be even less than what it normally is. It would be a very difficult year for the citizens to meet candidates. I don't know that there could be public forums and debates. And so if ever there was a good time, this would be the year for that.
And also want to weigh in a little bit on it too. I mean, we don't want to make too many assumptions on what would or would not happen in a next election cycle. So to Commissioner Morey's statement about leaving it to the next election cycle. So answer the question as to if we had the very same people be successful in the next election cycle. You know, you wouldn't want to put it off again and again and again and get what you want. You want to be able to move this forward. It is an adjustment. We've, in our 2x2s, we've certainly talked about the adjustment and the willingness of all of us that are on this cycle to basically volunteer to give our another year of our time towards this effort to keep everything moving and making sure we can achieve our goals. But I think the bigger picture is for all of those that will be successful beyond us, that they'll be able to be on the right cycle. And it really is all about the voter turnout that we have had very little success on. And so I think that if we're all comfortable in the jobs that we're doing, and so far what we're hearing is that we got a real positive effect on the things both internally in the town at the staff level and with the things that we're doing in the town, that I think that it would be a good time to do this and get it on the right cycle and get enough people voting. I think everybody on the board is confident that they'd rather see, you know, the election be had by 20,000 people rather than 2,000 people. I think that would be an important thing to observe. Any other comments? Commissioner Simpson, I know you're in there in the wings over there, so I'm going to call on you and let the rest of them open up.
I think the only comment that I would say is I know that nothing's set in stone, and I think all of us may have issues and things that would go on. And if Commissioner Moore, if you're not feel comfortable at any point, I mean, we are elected, but I mean, life happens, and if that's something you're not comfortable with, you could any one of us could step down from our positions at any point and have a successor replace them. We just went through that process with Commissioner Hall. So, I mean, even though, you know, this would just extend a term or extend everyone's term by 1 year, I mean, nothing's written in stone that if life happens or something else comes along that we have to fulfill that. We could at any point, any one of us could always just say, you know, step away from this and pursue other things. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we're hard in stone for that all that time as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Simpson. Any other comments? Commissioner Hall? Mayor Pro Tem? See Commissioner Hall wanting to say something or not? There you go.
I'm having trouble with the mute button today. I'd just like to echo the comments from Commissioner Westlake and yourself, Mayor Pappas. There's never a good time. I don't think it's got bad optics, but the data is there to support this decision going forward. And I think it's going to have a really good benefit for the town to have more people provide their input into who the leadership is going to be for Waxhaw. And so I think that's going to be a really good thing. And Commissioner Westlake's right. With what's going on in the environment right now, I mean, I think, ironically, I think the time's probably pretty good to, you know, make a change like this.
Very good. Mayor Pro Tem, I'm going to give you the opportunity to weigh in on it if you'd like to.
I'm just echoing the sentiments of the statements that have already been made. The data is there. And also, I know that Town Manager Jeff Wells did not state or say anything, but the town of Charlotte is also looking to adjust their cycle as well at this time. So there is precedent in doing this. It would allow more participation from the town of Waxhaw to be able to vote and put in place municipal officers, which is extremely important. You could have a community like a Lawson or a Millbridge with their 1,500 residents elect officers onto the board, which is not reflective of the 19 or 20,000 people who are here in this town. So we need to give voice to all who can participate to be able to participate in the process. As well as Commissioner Westlick did state, COVID is a big issue right now, and we don't know what is going to happen in the days ahead and moving forward. And we want to be as mindful as that as possible to allow people to stay safe in the process and moving forward. So there is no good time, but there is no better time than to do it at this time. So that's all.
All right, thank you for that. Thank you all again for your input and consideration together as a group. We've always been able to talk through these things and dissect them a few times and usually come up with the right decision for the town. So we hopefully can have that. Any other comments from any of the comments that the other commissioners have made? All right, seeing that there are no hands raised on that, I'm going to ask one of you for a motion.
Well, I'll go for the hat trick tonight. So I will make a motion to approve resolution number 2021001 in support of even year elections.
Very good. Okay, we have the motion in support of the resolution. So I'm going to ask any further discussion. And seeing no hands up, we're going to do a roll call vote again. I'm going to start with Commissioner Hall.
Jason Hall, aye.
Commissioner Westlick.
Tracy Westlick, aye.
Commissioner Morey.
Pedro Mori, nay.
Mayor Pro Tem McMillan.
Brenda McMillan, aye.
Commissioner Simpson.
Ann Simpson, aye.
Okay, very good. Thank you, everybody. The motion carries 4-1. And Jeff, you've got your next steps cut out for you. So appreciate the input on that and the presentation. And we'll hopefully work this through the stages that we need to and still continue on the best path for the town. So thank you, everyone, for your input and diligence in researching this and doing the homework before this meeting. So thank you very much. All right, next up, if I can, if my notes are correct, we have no general public comments. Is that correct, Melody?
That's correct.
Very good. We'll move on to the town leadership reports then. I think I'm on the right page there. Jeff, you've got the floor again.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one thing to share tonight. I thought the board might be interested in the North Carolina's updated COVID-19 vaccination priority plan. And these are updates that they've made based on the changes to federal guidance. And so I thought this would also be helpful for anybody else that's listening out there that may not be aware, but currently there are they are identifying as groups 1 and 2 that are eligible for vaccinations in the state. Group 1 is what you would expect, primarily healthcare workers and other certain essential workers. Group 2 is anyone that is 65 years of age or older. And what has changed a little bit is the next three groupings. First is group 3, and that has been revised to be defined as frontline essential workers. And that includes workers in government and community services, public safety, transportation, healthcare, and public health and education. So it does include a good bit of government workers, with the caveat that they have to be on-site workers and not working remotely. The group 4 will include anyone between the ages of 16 and 64 with high-risk medical conditions. And then lastly is group 5, which covers everyone else. And so that is the revised plan. And obviously it probably will be revised again sometime between now and the next couple of months, but I thought that would be useful information for everybody. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions for Jeff on any of those items? We're going to move down to Parks and Rec. Dina, are you ready to stand up again, or do you give up? There you go. We will yield the floor to you.
You know, I would always come with an update. So tonight I will give you an update on what's happening with our programs and parks and future events. So we'll get started. There we go. So we use our software is RecNest, and we use that to sign up for all our awesome programs and events that are coming up. So please check out our new program guide that goes to March, and then we'll start a new one starting in April to June. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a few minutes. So this is how you get connected. If you have any troubles or confusion about it, please call the Park and Rec office. Programs that are about to start, and some that have already started. So our fitness program, our walking club, they have already started. They had, Miss Amy said they had 3 new citizens that came and joined this past week. So that is so cool. Please keep them coming. We do all of the appropriate protocols when we do any of our classes. So keep everybody safe and healthy. But it's a great way to have community involvement, see a little bit of downtown as we walk around, and to meet your neighbor. So this is an awesome way of doing that. So our mixology class, so it went up last week and it's already full. So we are looking at adding some more classes. So so citizens that would like to join that class, be aware that we are trying to work out another date to go and to enjoy learning how to do mixology at Mary O'Neill's. So it's exciting. Future programs that are coming up, we're doing a youth teen program, and that is our chefs. So we are excited about that. That's going to be happening the following week. This program still has some room, but again, we're following all COVID protocols and having 10 or less students. So it's a safe environment to learn a really cool new skill. New arts and crafts is with Miss Kristen at 8 Legs in the art box. So it's bubbles. It's really cool on ceramic painting. So we're excited about that. The adult charcuterie class, the last couple times we've had it was maxed out and had a waiting list. So if you want to join in this time, go ahead and get on RecDesk and go ahead and get your spot. So we would love to have you. Something we're trying out new this year, because of COVID and our businesses need an extra little boost, we are doing a fun backdrop at the community corner over Valentine's weekend. And what this entails, you can come up during those times from 12:30 to 2:30 on Friday the 13th, Saturday the 13th and Sunday the 14th. And we will have a beautiful backdrop with some of our businesses helping out. I know of Sweet Teas Flowers is going to help out with some of the displays as well. And we're also having our A-frames out there to highlight all the businesses in town and downtown that are doing special Valentine promotions. So it's kind of like a little shout out to everybody that's having that extra giving the love at Valentine's. But you also will have a memento. You'll have a small photo to go with you. So it's creating a memory with us over the weekend. So we would love to see you out there. There's no cost for the photo. Just, be ready to come up and take your photo with us. Miss Amy and I will be out there, probably decked out in all kinds of Valentine wear, and we would love to see you. Hero Project. So tomorrow we are planning to go to Nesbitt, but the weather is not being nice to us for tomorrow, unfortunately. So we're going to make a final call in the morning around 9 a.m. We'll do a shout out on social media if we're going to postpone this week's hero. But if we get a break in the clouds, we'll definitely do our best to be out there. So just look out for social media for tomorrow. And we'll plan again for s'mores for another day if we're not allowed to do it tomorrow. Next week, we are partnering with Queen South, and they are helping us with serving a slice of pizza to make a awesome pinwheel for a craft. And hopefully we are searching out, kind of giving out the shout out to our Harrison Park, Alma Village, and Providence Farms neighborhood, because that's what's really close to there. Definitely walkability is to there. So we'd love to see all those families come out to this hero on the 3rd. Upcoming events. So earlier in the program tonight, y'all saw the events calendar that's getting us to June. So again, we're still in modified events, staying with all the COVID protocol. So it's going to be drive in, drive up kind of things all the way through. Also, we're attempting to do at the Wall of Honor, the memorial service. So again, all these protocols will still be in place, and hopefully with the vaccinations and us, doing all of our parts, we'll be back to normal sooner than later. But for right now, we're going to still stay within that realm of modified events. So thank you again for support on doing that. So I got chill bumps earlier about the downtown park. So I'm so excited. And that next timeline is to start construction now and design, and then ask to go forward with the part of grant. And so at our next meeting on February the 9th, we will be coming back for that okay to move forward on that. And so again, super excited. Thank you for the support, and the citizens I know is overjoyed. Sponsor space. So I brought this up last time. We are looking for our community heroes that would love to come out and help out with one of our park spaces. I have them all listed here. Please, this could be your family group, to a business, to a civic group. We would love to see your input and your participation and building our community. So please come and join us to have some fun. With all of our businesses and our wonderful gifted citizens, we would love to partner with you with classes and events. So please contact us. We are working on our April to June program guide now, and we'd love to partner with you to help enrich our citizens and to give you a shout out. So we would love to have that partnership. As in phase 3, we are continuing with all protocols concerning COVID. We have signs out all of our parks and continuously checking with the governor's office to make sure that we are up to speed. And also with the Union County Health Department. So we're just making sure we're on point and we're doing everything we can for our citizens. And of course, I leave you with our vision and mission as we strive to make professional parks and events and programs. And we really appreciate your support in helping us do that. Any questions?
Questions or comment for Miss Dina on the things? I think we're also excited about the park going forward. I think that's going to be just a major milestone on it. I have had one comment from a citizen relative to, and you can kind of guide me on this, Dina, a little bit, if we ever had any programs to deal with celebrations of any particular event or month like we do. And I know next month is a Black History Month in February. Have we ever put together programs on that, milestones, things like that, to showcase some of that in the past? And maybe this will blend in with some of the comments from the board.
So we're working on a spring program that is multicultural, that would highlight, because we've always done our art with Kaleidoscope, but we're looking to evolve that to make it a more of a multicultural event. And because of COVID, this year we can't do those type of events right now. But yes, we are very aware of what's going on in our country and wanting to build bridges on that. So that's one thing. Park and Rec is at the heart of what we are, is a community builder. And so we're constantly looking at ways to do that. And we are always open to, especially citizen input on an event they would like to hold. That came up with a menorah lighting. So that was a citizen driven, and then we kind of, took it and run, right? So all these things would be graciously looked at and to explore.
I believe Brenda had a comment.
Hand up over there, Mayor Pro Tem, please go ahead.
Just based upon what you said, the multicultural event is always welcome. But as far as Black Americans or African Americans, the month of February has been noted as being Black History Month. Even being mindful of the fact that COVID restrictions do prevent from having a number of different events, that does not preclude the town from putting anything on the website with regard to notable Black Americans in history who have made contributions either to the town of Waxhaw or to the country as a whole. And I'm not just saying to list the same people who have been listed all along as Dr. Martin Luther King or Rosa Parks or any of those people who are the only people it seems that are being spoken about. But we have people who are engineers or who are judges or who have worked with NASA and getting men on the moon. Even those women who did that live right here in the state of North Carolina. So to have just quick facts for Black History Month is something as simple as putting a note on your website or your page and making reference to that. And that does not affect people with COVID or anything else. It is just a way of celebrating the month for those African Americans or Black Americans who do live here in this town, and making reference to the contributions that have been made in our country.
Very good, and thank you for that. And on that note, if we could coordinate some more dialogue on this topic between Dina and Jeff, the town manager, and Melody, and of course, any input from any of the other commissioners and leadership, we would welcome that. But I think it's a cause worth taking a peek at for us. I appreciate that.
Definitely.
Any other questions for Miss Dina? Dina, when's the park going to be done?
That's all right. I'm just as anxious as you are. I told the team, I was like, I'm not going to sleep for the next year and a half because I'm just going to be like trying to get it done.
Oh, we'll bring you, we'll do the Pony Express, give you new shovels every 24 hours then. How's that?
There we go.
All right, we're
All
good
good.
on that. All right, if there's no other comments on that particular topic, I'm going to move down to any comments, any input from our Board of Commissioners? All right, you guys must want to go home tonight, so we're going to let you go home. There's no closed session items for us to discuss tonight, so I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A roll call vote once again as we have to. Commissioner Hall,
Jason Hall, aye.
Commissioner Westlake,
Tracy Westlick, aye.
Commissioner Morey,
Pedro Mori, aye.
Commissioner Simpson,
Ann Simpson, aye.
Mayor Pro Tem McMillan.
Brenda McMillan, aye.
Good. Thank you, everyone, for your input tonight and going through the changes that we do. Appreciate that. So we are down on the side. So good night, everybody.
Good night and be safe.
Good night.